Hello folks, Dixie Drew back. This is yet again part 2 of my experience. Yesterday was obviously, well, specifically the last day that we were here, was a freight day, while today, on this particular second day, is the passenger runs without needing any freight cars, which was actually great. Along with 148 and 312 still being the same locomotives on this contest, minus the 8 cars, which is the 3 coaches. Now for this passenger one, there weren't that many passenger coaches running, along with the last day, that being on a Saturday. Clearly, specifically saying that both days I was on this excursion, there were only 3 coaches available to run, with the baggage car and the passenger car, and then the observation car. Now here you see the 8 freight cars that were used on the photo chart or put on the siding. There's 148 once again getting fired up for this excursion. Now unfortunately, the other passenger cars, there weren't enough people to ride in them, so only 3 coaches, as there weren't that many people as expected. Now for this excursion, it'll depend on how many people attend this excursion. It's very possible that a lot of people can't afford these tickets because they're very expensive, but $675 is the total cost for the ticket, and it was worth it. Fortunately enough, me and my family were able to afford 1 ticket for me, as they had way more than that, to be honest. I don't really know exactly how much, to be honest, but I don't care, but that's personal information. But I'm just telling you, I was lucky enough to have experienced this. And without the $675 that I had, I would have never been able to experience this. So thank you, family. And God bless each and every one of you. Now you can see, this is actually going to be really impressive without having to deal with a bunch, specifically like for this train, like much cars. Because all the 8 freight cars are going to be probably sleeping for all I know. This has been really impressive with how, they run this excursion. Now here you see here, 148 is actually coupling out, but this is actually water tender number 52, as we saw in the previous couple past scenes. But this is how they couple up to the train, as you can see here.
Where did Pop Pop go?
And don't mind that person. I don't know why that person was doing that, but anyways, this is how they couple up to the train. Now you cannot see the other couple that's on this car because it's blocked by the walkway. Now what you might not know, the walkway is actually there because that's for people to walk to get to another car. After the 2 short blown whistles, it is about time to get to our first location for the run by.
I think that's why people are getting sick. I think that's why people are getting sick. Hurricane. Oh, that's tomorrow? Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch it. That would be a good game. My brother, he's a big Miami fan, so.
And there they are, the 8 freight cars that were used on the freight charter. Goodbye, freight cars. We'll never see you again. As we strolled all the way down to our first location.
one that has that church, right?
Now here we are at our first location. We have officially stopped right here, which means this is our first location of the day. But for this passenger run, there aren't that many cars to deal with. Instead of having to take the whole train apart, they just had to take the diesel off the train. Instead of having to take the diesel and the coaches off the train with the freight cars on it. This makes things a little easier for the crews because they don't have to do that much work.
Yeah, so train's only running from Clewiston to Benbow right before Moorhaven, and from Clewiston to Lamont. That's it. So past right Moorhaven proper, there's no trains to impede. We'll go to 50 Street, no trains that'll impede us either. The only time we'll have some where we might have some traffic will be moving points at the end of the day. There's more, curb shots that go behind.
You were running by with the Belgian can.
I don't think it can.
Oh no, they can. Yeah.
Can they, Richard? Oh, okay. That would be. Yeah, that's double 40, yeah. Oh, I missed.
Here, I'll hide it back here in the green room.
Another thing about this part of the day was that whenever there's just passenger coaches, the train only has to back up to the crossing to let us back in, because that is clearly where we sit and that's where we ride the train. And then they just bring the diesel down. Either that or the train backs up. One of those two things could typically happen. Is you either have the entire train with 148 backing up to the 312, or the 312 can come to the train, couple up to it. It's clearly identical to do either one of those things. But enough about that. After that, we got onto the train, and it was time to head to our next location. But before we can head to our next location, we were treated very well when we stopped at this track, this part of this track, where we see the sugarcane train that was just about to head to its destination, wherever that is, to collect sugarcane. Now, for those of you wondering, this is not our stop, as we were still on the train, and I have no idea what locomotive was leading that sugarcane train, but I believe it was the same one, number 3804. But anyways, after the sugarcane with the locomotive has completely passed by, we would then carry on to our next destination.
That's it.
Where's that red and white uniform?
Yes. That's it. Very nice.
Here we have is another old car here.
I've heard it has a brighter future. What do you call them?
Now here we are at our next location, but before we can carry on with the photo charters, the bridge was obviously certainly set into a different position for the boats to pass by. This is clearly not completely tall enough for the boats to pass by. For the reason the boats have to either wait or go, but it's depending on this bridge, which is actually operating either by turning either left or right to line up with the tracks. To get to the run-bys, the bridge has to line up to the tracks so that way we can carry on and to make sure there are no boats crossing at this point. This is something that's very unique, but I know some of y'all wouldn't like this, but I thought it would be really cool to see and include into this footage.
Kevin overslept.
No, don't bad. Oh, sorry, Fred. Sorry, bud. You finally get it back in the outfit. You stab just a little bit to your left, so 312 doesn't make a meal out of it. It'll take a minute. I just don't want Hooper to get on the radio and be like, "Can you get that young man out of my way, please?" No, Hooper, I mean.
However, after the run bys were finished here, it was time to get back on the train. But here we have locomotive 312 that would be eventually coupling up to us. But then we actually see that the locomotive has stopped. And because it stopped, locomotive 148 had to couple up to the locomotive. So then 312 could actually pull us north. This, if you're wondering, was taken from the end of the train, clearly at the observation car.
I was just looking at the car lot and I didn't know the train was moving. I thought the car was rolling down the hill. Hey, that's okay. Anytime you need help, of course. We all have to get our sea legs going.
I'll find you one way or another.
Okay, I hear you. The wonders of the internet. I'm lost forever.
That's definitely not you.
Now we certainly say and wave a goodbye to this car. We head north back to our next location. Now we will not be going back to Clewiston for lunch. Clearly we had lunch at another location for some reason. I have no idea why. But it was a very nice treat to see the old car back up further north somewhere. I have no idea where. But here you have a view of the lake, which is very nice to see. Now here in this shot, we can see is obviously our next location, but more importantly, there's a lot of black smoke. This is very impressive. As I say before, this is controlled by the fireman and engineer, which is very great. The fireman has to control the smoke clearly to be either black or clear. And this, as you can see, is what realistic steam looks like from steam locomotives. Blowing that hooter whistle very loudly scared the birds very well. But to my surprise, she was flying very fast. And after that run by was finished, we once again looked back at the train and still got more shots at the next run by, heading north, further north. Now this next location isn't necessarily our location, but it was a little further north of our next location to film and photograph the train. But this location was near what it looked like to be like a park up there. Now here we are at the next location. Well, this is not necessarily our location for Ralph ending. This was where we had our picnic lunch. Now this is also where we saw an old car right there. This is what I was saying before, I talked about, was where the place that looked like a park was right there. Specifically on the left side
Oh
of
yeah, no, he's like one of those little things that you put in
my
water and they
point
keep
of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Javier's just a savage.
Yep.
I mean, we knew he was a savage before, but it's really starting to come out.
He's a closet savage.
You're waving these people that were waving at me. Get off.
Anybody look at Kelly?
Yeah.
You think Kelly was against something?
He you know what? I've been joking with him. I'm like, Kelly. I was like, why do you look like an extra from Newsies?
Now after a quick break of lunch and a picnic, it was time to head back to our location for Ralph fetting and photographing as well. But it's further south of this location, but not that far, as it is yet another trestle, or I should say another bridge, near the alligators. But don't worry, I didn't get anywhere near the alligators, and I didn't get eaten by one, because if I had gotten eaten by an alligator, I wouldn't be here. But technically I am, because I know to be a safe boy.
That's it, yeah.
Because it runs all the way back up down here to where the creek goes back up, and travels back north.
Okay, Mike, best spot for the run by is on an island. Everybody wants to swim over there.
No, thank you.
What?
I'm not getting myself near alligators. I do not want to be. Now, this is our next location that we're going to be filming by and photographing, but not from that lake. From this spot right here, where the alligators are. But it's okay because the locomotive 148's whistle was loud enough to scare them away. And I'm pretty sure from underneath the water they can hear it very loudly. They're like, ah! The alligators are like, they're scared. Well, specifically saying that the alligators are like, oh no, I'm scared. Let's get out of here. This train's attacking. This train is tackling the lake. Something like that. I don't know exactly. But anyways, folks, enough of that. Here we have our next run-bys coming up at this spot.
We would like it to be. We were told it was just charging.
148. Private photo line. You have 30. 31.
After the rainbows were over here, still getting back on the train, but this wouldn't be over yet. We had one more location after this excursion, well, specifically at the spot, and then we would eventually head back to Clewiston, where I would then head home. Now here you see some motorcycles that are racing against this train, but looks like they're a fan of us, and we're a fan of them too. I know this is not really identical, but this is actually really neat to see. But they weren't the only ones that we were going near. Also in this shot, we would see some semi-trucks as well. Some of the passengers on board the train were trying to get the trucks to honk their horns, but none of them did. At this point, we were approaching the bridge that was automatically powered by what appeared to be a motorized bridge, as it actually was. Well, after the bridge was aligned, we were able to go. But also, as we were passing by these hoppers, take a look. This was actually, right here, the Rock Island hopper that I never seen before on a train. Now, that was very nice to see. I really wish I would see a lot of those old railroad cars on the tracks. But As we got the clear signal and after the bridge has been aligned, we were able to go, but only 10 miles per hour was our speed limit. And if we had actually gone a lot faster than that, we would have most likely either derailed, which would most likely lead to falling into the lake, which would have not been nice. So it's better to be safe than sorry in this kind of situation we're into.
Yeah, there's also manual buttons you can.
But there's not an operator, yeah, it's just a radio.
It's radio. It's radio's like the switches.
Yeah. Oh.
But it sometimes isn't. It's really important. They will sometimes go ahead and send a person in the truck out here.
2 days ago.
If they know they're having a little trouble with it, but also sometimes the person there is just the inspector. Got to do signal inspections on it, and they have to do bridge inspection on it, bridge operating inspection. That's the Hoover levee. That is the Lake Okeechobee's the other side. And it's not like you think of all water. It's islands and a lot of land. Right against the levee on the other side is intercoastal waterway, part of this. So they enter up at Port Tide, cross the lake. There's some channels, and then they hit the canal about Clewiston, fall over here, and they come through. Block right over here. We had that whole area cut back at one time. But I was wondering what it does about that steam be like the UP. You got one engine sitting on the main and the passenger train goes through the side.
Now this was actually our last shot of the day, like the last place of the day that we would film the train. This was obviously the same crossing or same location, I'd say, that we filmed the previous day. to this day that we filmed the freight train. Now we're filming the passenger train run-bys here as well. Now for at least 2 run-bys, I decided to stay back on the train and get back out for some more, because I wanted to see how far the train would go for these run-bys, but it turned out it wasn't that much far. It was pretty close. Now here we got a lot of train enthusiasts out there, filming and videoing the train, at least. and photographing the train. This was actually my first time I've ever seen that before. Now, as it turns out, they don't really go as far as I thought for this location. But anyways, enough is enough of that. Back to the run-bys with this old car at the crossing. Also, on these run-bys at this location, we would be treated very well with a sunset, which was very beautifully pretty and very cute to see from a distance. You can see that the daytime is almost already gone. It was very well done, and my very first time ever seeing a sunset here at Clewiston, this late at night. Well, that was it for the run-bys as the train backed up to pick us back up, and then we picked up locomotive Route 12 and headed back to Clewiston. Now, as for our last time, we got back on the train and we relaxed as the run-bys were officially over, and the run-bys were officially over for this year and this weekend too. But don't worry, they'll be back in the next 2 years, as this isn't over yet. This isn't necessarily their last run-by, as I do plan to do more in the future. Hopefully in 2028, as this is currently 2026. But this locomotive is clearly the only operating steam locomotive that is completely black that is in Florida. Black steam locomotives are actually one of the best parts of steam railroading when it comes to steam railroading photographer special like this. Now after that runway, we, like I said, would head back to Clewiston, and after we arrive at Clewiston, I would eventually go home, but on my way, we would stop at Wawa and get some really nice, delicious meal that they actually had, that I had for my first time. Now, although this experience is over, I am truly going to miss doing this excursion. I love it so much that this has become my most favorite. Getting to see 148 doing passenger and freight runs on this line is something that I'm never going to forget, and I'll remember truly well with that hooter whistle. Now, if you want to experience this, I definitely say yes, you definitely need to experience this, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on a lot. I'm telling y'all, you'll never get to see a steam engine pulling passengers and freight in Florida unless you come to this event. $675 is totally worth it for like 2 days if you're gonna obviously have an opportunity that you want to see that in action. Now, it was very nice to ride this train. It is officially over, but it was very nice to finally see 148 again with the 1950s appearance. But anyways, folks, that'll be just about it for the excursion. That'll do it for my videos, and obviously this was great, and I hope to see you guys again soon, and I'll see you in the next video whenever it comes out, and y'all take care. And this is Dixie Dude officially signing off. Bye bye, folks. Thanks for watching.